Okay, I want you to picture the single most important company in the world. A company that makes the one thing our entire digital civilization, well, depends on. Now, imagine that company is right in the middle of the most dangerous geopolitical conflict on the planet. This isn't some hypothetical scenario. It's the reality we're living in right now.
So let's just dive right in. The company we're talking about is the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. And look at this chart. They control a staggering 71% of the global market for making advanced computer chips. I mean, just to put that into perspective, their closest rival, Samsung, is way back at just 8%. This isn't just being a market leader, it's basically a monopoly on the very foundation of our modern world.
And you can see just how deep TSMC is embedded in, well, everything. Their chips are so fundamental that people have started calling them the rice of the digital age. They're in our iPhones, they're the NVIDIA GPUs that are powering this whole AI revolution. They're in our cars, and they're the backbone of the internet itself. Seriously, if TSMC ever stopped making chips, the entire global economy would just grind to a halt.
But here's the catch. This absolutely indispensable company sits on an island, right in the center of a storm that's been brewing for decades. And that brings us to the big question. How on earth did Taiwan and this one company become such a critical flashpoint for the entire world?
Just take a look at this client list. It's a who's who of big tech. Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, AMD, they are all completely dependent on TSMC. This incredible economic connection has created what many now call Taiwan's Silicon Shield. The thinking goes that because the whole world relies on these chips, an attack on Taiwan would be economic suicide for everyone involved, creating this really powerful deterrent.
But to really understand how we got here, we have to rewind the clock. Because at its heart, this conflict isn't really about semiconductors. It's the ghost of an unfinished civil war.
You see, after centuries of changing hands, the modern divide was really set in stone back in 1949. The nationalist government lost the Chinese Civil War to Mao Zedong's communists, and they were retreated across the strait to Taiwan. Ever since, the two sides have been locked in this really precarious standoff. And it's boiled over before, like in 1958 during the Jinmen crisis, when mainland China just unleashed a massive artillery bombardment on islands controlled by Taiwan, bringing the whole region right to the brink of war.
And this right here is the absolute crucial point. Beijing's entire policy is built on the one China principle. From their perspective, Taiwan isn't a separate country. It's a breakaway province that must be brought back into the fold, by force if they have to. For the government in Beijing, this isn't up for debate. It is a core political mission.
So this political stalemate has just fueled a massive and frankly terrifying arms race across the 100-mile-wide Taiwan Strait. It's created one of the most heavily militarized and dangerous places on Earth.
On one side, you have China, which has spent decades building this enormous offensive force. We're talking carrier-killer missiles specifically designed to keep the US Navy away, and a huge fleet ready for an invasion. So what does Taiwan do? They've adopted what's called a Porcupine Strategy. They know they can't win a head-to-head fight, so they're focused on making themselves as painful as possible to attack. A dense web of anti-air and anti-ship missiles, drones, and fast boats, all designed to make an invasion incredibly bloody and costly for Beijing. And when you look at the raw numbers, it's pretty overwhelming. China's military has about 10 times the active troops, almost 5 times the tanks, 4 times the fighter jets. The imbalance is huge. But Taiwan's greatest defense isn't actually on this chart. It's the 100 miles of rough sea. An amphibious invasion is one of the hardest military operations you could possibly attempt.
Now, with China's military drills around the island becoming routine, the conversation in intelligence circles has really shifted. It's no longer a question of if a conflict could happen, but when. And in this incredibly tense situation, military planners and analysts are zeroing in on 2 key windows where the danger could be at its absolute highest. The first theory is all about the year 2027. Why? Because it's the 100th anniversary of the People's Liberation Army. It's a huge political milestone. Successfully taking Taiwan would be a monumental legacy achievement for Beijing's leadership. And the really chilling part? There are reports that China's already stockpiling massive amounts of food and resources. The other theory points to 2035. This idea suggests China might wait until its military is fully modernized, ensuring an invasion would be quicker, more effective, and a lot less risky for them. So, let's go there. Let's talk about the worst-case scenario. If all the deterrence fails and an invasion actually starts, what would that look like? And more importantly, what would it mean for all of us? Well, most experts think it would begin with a sudden, overwhelming storm of missiles targeting Taiwan's military bases and command centers. The goal would be to knock them out fast, gain control of the air and sea, and then attempt that incredibly difficult amphibious landing. And at that exact moment, the United States and its allies, like Japan, would have to make a choice that could risk a direct war between nuclear-armed superpowers.
The economic fallout would be instant and just catastrophic. One study projects that in the first year alone, Taiwan's economy would shrink by 12%, China's by 9%, and the US economy by 7%. Look, those aren't recession numbers. That is a full-blown global economic depression, triggered overnight by the collapse of global trade.
And that brings us right back to the Silicon Shield. This quote from a former US National Security Advisor is just brutally honest. It spells out the logic of the situation. The US has basically said it would rather destroy the world's most important factories and trigger that global depression than let them fall into Beijing's hands. The Silicon Shield might also be a poison pill.
So you see, the standoff in the Taiwan Strait is so much more than some regional dispute. It is arguably the single most dangerous flashpoint on Earth, with the potential to spark both a devastating war between great powers and a worldwide economic collapse. And with the stakes this high, the most critical question of our time remains: can this fragile, tense peace actually hold?